There we go. All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here for our SAAM presentation from HAFA this glorious morning. My name is Angie Railing. My pronouns are they, them, and I am a prevention coordinator here with WCASA. And I will let Nestic introduce herself.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Nestic Morris. I am the outreach coordinator here at WCASA. Thank you all for being here this morning.
We are going to delay no more and turn it right over to our wonderful presenters. Thank you so much.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Peng Ku. I'm the lead sexual assault advocate here at HAFA.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Long Fyong. I'm one of the male advocate at HAFA here. Nice to meet you all.
Okay, we are going to figure out how to switch this over.
Please. Does everybody see the PowerPoint now? Okay, good.
There you go. Okay. Let's leave that here. So again, we're from the Hmong American Friendship Association, which was established in 1983 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. These are our beautiful staff, beautiful and handsome staff here. What is HAFA? So HAFA is a nonprofit organization funded by nonprofit institutions and government agencies to improve the quality of life for Southeast Asian families. We work in collaboration with other programs and agencies to serve members of the Southeast Asian population in the greater Milwaukee area. Again, we were established in 1983. Some of the programs that we have here are our job placement program. We have an elderly program where we do outreach and translation. Like Long mentioned in the beginning, we have a community food pantry available on Tuesdays and Fridays to the community. We have our youth program, and then last but not least, our sexual assault survivor advocacy program. Here are our advocates. Again, myself as the lead sexual assault survivor advocate. We have Long here as the male sexual assault survivor advocate. We have a Karen advocate here, Southeast Asian. Her name is Na Ta Na. And then we have Kanji Zhang. She's our other Southeast Asian sexual assault survivor advocate. And this pretty much makes up our department here in regards to advocacy. So what we offer in our advocacy program, we have our 24-hour crisis hotline. The number that can be reached is 414-322-9522. We do have it in both in Hmong and Karen speaking. We have victim support, safety planning. We conduct restraining orders for clients if needed. We provide emotional support. We have support group sessions. We have bilingual victim advocacy, legal referral, assisting with counseling referrals. We also do art therapy too for the clients if needed. Things are kind of broken down into quarterly regarding the support group and the art therapy, but we do provide those for our clients. And any victim services related to the crime. This is kind of a breakdown of the population, Southeast Asian population ethnicity that we serve at HAFA. So 65% is going to be Hmong, 6% is going to be Laotian, 2% is Thai, 20% is Karen, 2% Burmese, 2% Rohingya, 1% Chin, and 2% Malaysian. And when we say serve, it can be anything from our Southeast Asian sexual assault advocacy program to our food pantry to elderly services. even housing or citizenship. These are the ethnicities that we serve. All right, it's a lot of words on this page, but we kind of didn't know where to begin, and so we just wanted to start, back at where we're from. So, who are the Hmong people? So we are actually from Laos. We don't have our own land. We grew up in the mountains as an ethnic group, and historically, Hmong is an oral tradition, meaning everything is kind of just through words or word of mouth. We originated from the Yellow River regions of China near Beijing, but due to Chinese oppression and prosecution at that time, the Hmong people fled south to the southern mountains of China or any Asian countries, including Vietnam, Laos, and Thailand. Do you want to add anything, Long, regarding where we're from?
No, I think that should. I think many times the word montagnard, that's a French word. Just to add to it that because at the time when the Hmong migrate from southern China into the northern part of Laos, Vietnam, and then the Burma, the lower land already occupied by the people were there. So the Hmong end up in the northern part, which is very mountainous. So that's why many times you might have heard the word montagnard, which is a French word.
Mm. And also too, Hmong means free. So free people, like Lang said, we're mountain people. Just because I guess we were kind of just wanting to do our own things. Traditionally, we Hmong people are farmers. So we grew rice, corn, crops. We love just being on the farm and being free. And on the farm, we usually have like chicken, cattle, and pigs. Just kind of like very traditional, very peaceful. Like Hmong people, we're just very kind of like we want to do our own things, and we didn't want to fight, with no war, just very peaceful. However, during the Vietnam War, the Hmong people we worked for the CIA, in a thing called Secret War in Laos. And because we've our efforts in helping with our General Vang Pao, I'm not sure if you guys heard of him, but he's the large general that kind of really led the Hmong people here to the United States. So with the Secret War, we were actually forced into Thailand in the refugee camps. And then from there, around like the 1970s, 1980s, we had came over to the United States. But yeah, a lot of the Hmong families in the refugee camps in Thailand were actually settled in Australia, France, Canada, Germany, and the United States. So we're kind of like all over the place, but mainly we are here in the United States. The most states with Hmong people, it's going to be Minnesota, California, and Wisconsin. So these three states host the most Hmong families. I just want to touch a little bit about the Karen community, because we do serve quite a large Karen population here at Hafa. The Karen people are an ethnic group living in Southeast Asia with their distinct languages and cultures since the 1930s. They are very diverse with different ethnic and language subgroups. And the subgroups are, and please forgive me, this is from Nana. So I was like, no, you have to teach me how to say these. So she said it's Pau Karen, and those are mostly Delta rice growers, and the Sagal Karen, which are in the mountains. They also have another subgroup called Kayas, and they're also called Karenni. Karen people are originally from Burma, and they call that their homeland is Katalu. More than 140,000 Karen refugees have fled to Thailand to escape war and human rights abuses. Between 2005 and 2011, almost 70,000 refugees from Thailand were resettled in countries, including America, Canada, and Australia. And then at the top right corner, that is their flag. So the Karen flag. We wanted to go over some of the Southeast Asian sexual violence statistics, which I think is really important when it comes to statistics and reporting for the Southeast Asian community. I would say it's quite skewed because we've noticed that a lot of the incidents, they go unreported or undocumented. But just kind of wanted to go that way over with you guys and, definitely have a discussion, later in the presentation about, why is that and how can we support more victims of Southeast Asian. So these are the first two are just very general, which is 1 in 3 women worldwide have experienced physical or sexual violence by a husband or male intimate partner. Whether it's physical, sexual, or psychological, is the most widespread form of violence against women globally. In Southeast Asia, 33% of partnered women aged 15 to 49 will experience physical and or sexual violence from a current or former husband, male partner at least once in their lifetime. Southeast Asian women are less likely to report sexual abuse as they fear retaliation, rejection, fear, victim blaming, and feeling shameful. Of API women in the United States, 23% experience some form of contact sexual violence, 10% experience complete or attempted sexual violence, and 21% have non contact unwanted sexual experiences during their lifetime. Children were the second largest group of victims, and parents of wives and girlfriends were the third largest group. I would have to say Long and I would definitely agree with the last 3 bullets of why the reporting is skewed, and a large part of it does come with victim blaming, feeling rejection, feeling shameful, and then with the API women of the United States, I would say those numbers are probably most likely higher, with the 23% experienced, the 10% and the 21. And then we would agree that children are the second largest group of victims in our population. And then parents of wives and girlfriends were the third largest group. And I think too, with the wives and the girlfriends as the third group is because just like the culture, the Hmong culture with the weddings and the wives and they something what they called is like a bride kidnap. Um, and we think that that has kind of some impact on why they are the victims. There was a story back in 2012 with Pania Vang. This incident happened in Laos. So in the early 2000s, it was not uncommon to see adolescent girls in St. Paul, Minnesota, in the arms of Hmong American men who were 20, 30, or even 40 years older than them. This is commonly true, especially in the 90s and in the 2000s. Currently, I would say that trend has slowly changed and shifted with the new generations. But with this incident, it definitely happened when she was younger. Pena Vey has sought a 450,000 lawsuit over child sex tourism in a Minnesota court from a Hmong American citizen who allegedly sexually assaulted and impregnated her in Laos. And kind of the story was when she was 14, she was invited to Vientiane, which is a capital in Laos, where she thought she was auditioning for a music video. And this gentleman this man, the abuser from St. Paul, Minnesota, had flown over there to advertise that he was shooting a music video and he was looking for young girls. She lived her entire life in Laos, and her dream was to become a singer, and so she had auditioned. Much later on, after the assaulted, she was forced and culturally married to her husband, and they had settled in Minnesota with her child in 2007. Vang's husband allegedly continued to force her into sexual relationships with him by seizing her immigration documents and threatening to take their baby away from her. According to the lawsuit, their culture marriage, one that is not legally recognized, was broken off until 2011 when Vang obtained a protective order. And so for me personally, I'm just so proud of her that she was able to navigate the legal system and with law enforcement and getting a restraining order on him, taking him to court. And so, yeah, it was just a great story, like a success for her. Um, Even though what happened to her was unfortunate. Is it common now? I don't think so. But as mentioned earlier, I think it's more common in the 90s and the 2000s that these men would go over to Laos and, trick these girls into like movies or music videos. And then, ultimately they get assaulted. And another large part too that I want to touch on is the immigration documents. That is another form of control that the men, especially I would say Hmong men or Southeast Asian men, and how they get control over their victims is by holding their immigration documents, their green card, their social security card, because they know without those that the woman would not be able to leave the relationship. And so, a part of what we do here at HAFA is our safety planning with the ladies. If they are if they do have a green card or if they are immigrants, we always educate them that having their green card, their social security card, any type of immigration documents is always important in their safety bags. Because just in case anything ever happens, it's going to be more difficult to obtain those documents. So we definitely go over those items, with the ladies that come through, that it's very important to have that as part of their safety planning, any type of important documents. Lastly, the jury did award Vang $950,000 in 2017. So one thing that Long and I want to focus on today is the word losing face or lost face in the Hmong culture. It's when you say it in English, it may sound kind of silly, but in Hmong, it's I guess I would say like very shameful. It's a very shameful kind of feeling when you lose face. And we wanted to share that with you guys today, what that meaning is. And I would say that it's not only to Hmong families, but to Lao, to Thai, to Karen. That term is used quite a lot. So the term lose face has a meaning that goes, like I said, a little bit beyond feeling shameful and embarrassed. It's face, our face in the Hmong culture represents one standing in society and reflects their social prestige, reputation, and harmony with the community. Why is this a concern? It is a concern because the survivor feels that the family would no longer love them and accept them back into the family because of the family's reputation is at stake. It shuns the survivor from any contact with the family, and for this reason, many survivors choose not to speak out. They are often labeled as untrustworthy person who wants to cause pain and suffering to the family, but in reality, they are the ones in pain, and that comes from victim blaming. So this term is, very important to our culture. It's definitely the reputation of the family. And so we feel that because of the reputation of the husband, the family, whether she's getting abused or not, she just decides not to report it. And that has been a big issue and a big problem for us in the community, just because, as the victim, the survivor, there's no healing for them. There's no solution. And so we encourage, we're going to go, and once we get into the presentation, we talk a little bit more about encouraging victims and survivors and how we can assist them so they don't, feel this sense of like losing face in the community. But it is very detrimental to the family And I feel like a lot of victims feel like that. Long, did you want to add anything about what the term losing face in the Hmong culture is?
Yeah, I think one thing also is because of the Hmong clan structure. Again, we have. I hope that you have heard a little bit about that already too. But throughout the whole Hmong community, we have only 18 last names. So just the 18 last name, each of the last name is considered a clan. So if something happened, something I mean, if even a man or woman happen to have something, then it looks like it's not just affecting the individual, but the whole clan. So that's why the term losing face, feel shame to the whole clan, and things like that. That's another meaning behind the lose face, the importance of the being having lost face. Yeah.
Yeah, so not sure if you guys are aware, but like Locke mentioned, in our culture, we have 18 clans, which is our 18 last names. So most of the time when there is any type of like domestic violence or sexual assault, it gets brought up to the clan leaders, and it's held more internal before it goes to the legal system. And so we think too, like with having, I mean, sometimes it's good to have like the guardian, the elder, to kind of negotiate or to diffuse the problem, is very helpful. But sometimes it can cause a blockage too. Because in the past, what happens was if a wife or a woman, a sister, a mother, if she was domestic abuse or domestic violence, sometimes the elders will just say like, well, just stay put, like just stay there, like it's not that bad, or maybe you're exaggerating things. And so because of that too, that has kind of, caused some type of like interference. Again, we don't see this often now, but in the past, in the 2000s and in the 90s, that was definitely the case, where they would just tell the wife to stay and just be patient. But we as advocates now, like we, respect their decision. If they want to go with the elders in the 18 clan, or if they're interested in going the legal way, like we support that as well. I think Long and I, we both kind of go like pro-choice. So it's up to the victim and what they want to do, and we fully support that. But yeah, so part of the losing face does have to go back with the 18 clan, because again, the Hmong culture is very close knit. It's very like kind of, you can say like secret. It's very secrecy. And where we are here to educate the community, and we're here to empower survivors. And sometimes it can be a little challenging. So here we are on the reporting, and it was definitely a struggle to see, because Southeast Asian reporting, I think just Asian reporting in general, is very skewed, because a lot of the women are not coming forward and reporting. But this is what we found from 2002 to 2006. Again, these are very old data, but I think it's still important to acknowledge. So with that, everything kind of what we just mentioned about losing face, secrecy, victim blaming has definitely made impact on reporting of sexual violence in the Southeast Asian community, especially because survivors feel that no one is there to help them or to listen, or they may not be receiving the help and assistance they need. Again, the reporting numbers are low, and families, we try to solve it internally. So from 2002 through 2006, these are comparative, non-fatal, violent, and propriety victimization showed that Asians had the lowest rate of violent victimization along all racial or ethnic groups. Asian males were at a slightly higher risk of violent victimization than Asian females. Among victims, Asian were more likely than non-Asians to be violently victimized by a stranger. Asian households have the lowest rates of property victimization among households of all racial or ethnic groups. Property crimes against Asian households were as likely to be reported to the police as property crimes against white, Black, or Hispanic households. Again, we believe that these numbers should be higher, but because of the culture, they're not being reported as much. Also, we have a chart, a table here, table number 1. This is the average annual numbers and rates of violent and household property victimization for Asians, Native, Hawaiian, and other Pacific Islanders and non-Asians by the type of crime. And so we can kind of see the numbers there, which we think it's saying that non-Asians are higher and the Asians are much lower. I mean, that's like 1/4 of what non-Asians are, but we believe that it should be higher. Comments on the reporting? You would agree that the
I
Asian
would
would be,
agree too. I
it should
would
be
agree that
higher.
it's you know, incidents have not been reported. So
Yeah. Here are some strategies that we found that was helpful if you serve the Southeast Asian community, that if you would like to implement into your program. So one, we always encourage survivors to speak to someone they trust, whether it's a family member, a friend, a teacher, an advocate. We always encourage them to speak out. Just, finding that person that would listen to them, who can help advocate for them. It's always very helpful. Um, and being bilingual, it's definitely a challenge because everything we say in English in Hmong, it's like contradicts, right? Like you have to tell someone in Hmong, it's like, what? I gotta tell someone? Like that's bad, and we're trying to educate them and, give them like knowledge, like it's not bad, it's okay. Like your voice is important. So are free to open up and to speak to someone that you trust. Providing medical and professional information and resources to survivors. In examples like therapists, psychiatrists, counselors, advocates. I think what challenge we find is that being bilingual, we don't have any Hmong therapists or Hmong psychiatrists or counselors. It's very low numbers, and that's kind of been a challenge. I know now they have interpretation and translation, which can be helpful, but usually as a survivor, they Southeast Asian survivor, they like to keep kind of to themselves. Like the less people know or is better for them. They want to keep it more confidential. Providing any mental and emotional support in a safe and confidential space. This is especially important because the Southeast Asian community is a close-knit community. As we mentioned before, they like to keep things very confidential, very small to themselves. We've learned that educating survivors that there's a lot of free resources available to them. I think a lot of the time, financial is a concern of theirs. Well, I can't pay for the SAAM exam. I can't pay to get medical done. I can't pay for a kit, but it's actually it's free. So just educating survivors. Just doing a lot of more like outreach, letting them know like, there's no charge for these services and there's advocates out here that are able to assist you. Continuing to provide support groups and support groups that are culturally sensitive and specific to that group. So for example, the Hmong people, we have something called Bandao, which is a story cloth. And that has been very helpful and successful in the way that we provide support group in our space. It's a story cloth. It's with like needles and a thread. And, the ladies, they knit like a pattern together, and that's very therapeutic for them. It's very culturally sensitive. It's, something that they're familiar with and that they enjoy. And so just finding the right activities for these groups. For example, for the Karen community, we wouldn't do the story cloth. You know, they kind of do more things with singing and praising. Um, and so maybe doing like a Quran, like singing circle, something that really, that their community already does, and just enhancing that experience for them. Um, it's very helpful. Um, and I think, with support group, it's a way where they can have these shared experiences that is very important to them. And they're surrounded with individuals that been through similar situations as them. And so there's just this, sense of community there that they're more willing to share. Hosting different workshops and educating families and supporters of survivors. So these would be like your secondary survivors. Sometimes it's difficult for survivors in the Southeast Asian community to come forward. And so many times we find that family knows, or a sister or a friend, and they want to know how to better support their friend or family. And so by offering these, different workshops and education sessions to really kind of just help the secondary survivors, to help them, is very important, especially because we have it in different languages, multi-language. We find that it's really helpful. And that just leads to, having materials translated into their native language. A lot of the helpful material we find is just in English and Spanish. We have seen some in Hmong, which has been very helpful. But yeah, it's just kind of converting that into Korean or Burmese or Lao or Thai. It's even more, more especially helpful because they can read the language. And I think a lot of it too comes with like trust, like they trust you as an advocate, because you can, speak their language. We actually have quite a few different languages here. Long, if you want to share how many languages you speak.
I speak 5.
Five?
Hmong,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean for sure Hmong, Lao, Thai, English and French. So
Wow, Long he is multilingual. He's awesome to have. So because he does speak the other languages with Hmong, Thai, and Lao, that's been really helpful. And then we have Na, which she's Karen, so she's been helping out that community a lot. And then Kanji with the Hmong community. And so we're thankful to have Long here. He's just very experienced, and we can always use his help.
We have a question before y'all move to the next slide, if that's okay.
Yes.
So the question was, can you all share the names of the reports that are being cited?
Oh, yes. We do have them on our last page on the
Okay.
PowerPoint. It's going to
Okay,
be
perfect.
in our reference.
Okay. Thanks.
No problem.
okay, now so I am going to focus a little more about the Vietnam War now. So the impact of the Vietnam War to the Hmong community. And as Panku said already, the history of the Hmong coming from southern China into the northern part of Laos, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, and then Burma in the probably in the late 18th century already. And so that part, Panku talked about that a little bit. So now I'm going to talk more, focus more about from 1960 on to now. And under President Richard Nixon, at that time, around 1960, the communist regime is trying to expand into Southeast Asia. And so the American government policy at that time was to help to stop the expansion of communism. So it happened to be that the Hmong in the northern part of Laos, very mountainous, and that's why the Vietnam War, start about in 1960 already too. So the Hmong were recruited by the CIA to do three particular things. Number one is to cut the supply route from the northern Vietnam to southern Vietnam, going through Laos. It's called the Ho Chi Minh Trail. And so number two is to rescue down American pilot to the mountainous part of Laos, in the northern part where the Hmong live. So number three is to gather intelligence for the war, for the operation. So the Hmong were involved with were recruited by the CIA, led by our General Vang Pao, for those particular reasons. So that's why the Hmong were part of the Vietnam War, even though Laos was during the whole Vietnam War, 1960 to 75, Laos was the most bombed country during the war. About almost 2 million tons of bomb were dropped in Laos, even though right now there are still some that are not exploded. So that's very, again, it's a very heavily bombed country, the most bombed country at that time. Even though it's like that, but then it's not recognized to be part of the Vietnam War at all. Laos has never been recognized as part of that, because it's a, the Laos is get involved as a covert operation by the CIA, only just to help stop the expansion only on the northern part, which is not part of the Vietnam War. So that's why. But with that, the Hmong were, by involving with the war like that, about 30,000 Hmong also were die and wounded, which is close to about 10% of the Hmong population. It's about 300,000 only, and then about 30,000 were wounded and died during that time. So that's very, it's quite a big number there. But after during the time that during the war, so many Hmong were captured too by could be killed, could be captured by the communists also. And it's very, a lot of violence too, because of the capture, because of during the war, action during the war. So it's something that stay within the Hmong, those older generation in their mind all the time, that they have been through all of that. And so even as an interpreter, I go out to different, to a hospital, to other institution, for interpretation, all of that. And we do see the effect, of the impact of what they have been through to their life, even, way after the war now. So now after the Vietnam War is 1960 to 75. So at about 1973, there was a ceasefire in Laos, and the communists stopped fighting. And also the royal government, the royal army was with the ceasefire to stop fighting. But then at that time, there were a lot more, violence that are really infiltrate through to the Hmong community, because now the communist soldiers are just there. They're allowed to be there along with the Hmong community, the Hmong village. And so when they come into the Hmong village, they are soldiers. So they tend to just pretend to be nice soldiers, to volunteers, to do works with the ladies, to do work with the community. Now they have better chance to really take the Hmong ladies, the Hmong men, Hmong women to for sexual violence, for any other violence activities too. So that's really scary. And talking to all the Hmong older generation now, that's one of the time when the Hmong fear the most, because now the soldiers are coming right there, in the open, with the community, with the families, living with the family, and they take the family members to either to re-education camp. So the men were taken to re-education camp and never come back, or the woman too, just being taken out there to education camp, or just to for their own pleasure too, soldiers. So the Hmong men and the Hmong, if you talk to older generation, that's the time that they fear the most. But whatever happened to, one thing also is that whatever happened to whatever the communist soldier took, even let's say the Hmong wife to for some bad thing, nothing they can do. The Hmong men, nothing they can do, because they have no power. And now communists is there. They have the power. They're along with the family. So that's very that's why all of this fear, all of these incidents led to the fact that, well, May 1975, after the fall of Laos, Cambodia, and then Vietnam, which is the whole, almost like a domino effect. One country fell, then all the other two countries, Cambodia and South Vietnam, which is part of the Indochina, fell into communism, under communist control. So May of 1975, where our General Vang Pao flew out of Long Chang, which is the military base, and then all the Hmong, because the fact that they were part of the operation, the CIA COVID operation, and also, well, to the Hmong, they feel like they are just protecting their country. That's it. But so they knew nothing about the fact that there is something in operation, or get involved with CIA, nothing like that. The Hmong would just feel like, we have the communists coming over, so we have to defend our country. That's it. So, but after the General Vang Pao left, and with all of the campaign by the communist soldiers to almost like an extermination campaign against the Hmong. Okay, so taking the Hmong men who were soldiers at that time to re-education camp, never come back, and all of that, including even the king. They take the king, the Lao king, and the prime minister, all major official to re-education camp, never come back. So that's why that led to the exodus of all the Hmong, following our General Vang Pao to refugee camp in Thailand. At that time in 1975, I was 19 already. So I saw everything with my own eye. I experienced it, most of these, hardship, all of this with my own eye, because I was 19 already. I was a student, sure, but I saw all of this hard time where my parents, or the Hmong community, or all the soldiers have been through all of this, all of the death and wound, I saw all of that with my own eyes too. So it's very frightening. And the one thing I'd like to share is that, in Laos was a tropical country where it's a lot of big jungle at that time, monsoon, hot, cold, all of that. And it's a lot of bed bug in the jungle, all of that. And now after the General Vang Pao left, the Hmong families have to take their family, have to flee out of the country, flee out of, and just go into the war or go into the jungle and take their families, goes into the jungle, prepare some food. That's it, just go, right? So they have to walk through jungle with the rain, monsoon, weather, all of that, months to in the jungle, try to survive, to get into the refugee camp in Thailand. And I have seen the article before that, 30,000 die and wound during the war, but 50,000 die during the after the war, after 1975, because being fleeing out like that into the jungle, the starvation, or die due to starvation, or due to ambush by communist soldiers, or due to some other gang, trying to bad gangster out there trying to rob, even as the Hmong trying to flee out from their village out to safety. So it's a lot of things like that happen. And also going from, once they pass through all the jungle, there is a big river. It's called the Mekong River, separating Laos and Thailand. In some part of the river, it's almost a mile wide. And imagine that, mom and dad does not know how to swim at all, but yet they have to carry 2 or 3 kids. And how can they get across that river? Those who are lucky got a tube, a tire tube. Back then, there's still, automobiles still have tube in the tire. And so those who are lucky get a tube and they hang on to that tube, or many just use whatever keep them afloat, like tie a couple of bamboo together, a couple pieces, a piece of a dried log together, and then just jump into the river. And so that's why many died. Many got ambushed, many got shot by a communist soldier in the river, or just drowned. Many died like that. And so that's why the number 50,000, which is, I do agree that yes, it's a very good estimate of, or a good number that is showing that yes, it's a lot of casualties, sure, after the war. One story, even that the lady just passed away about 2 weeks ago, and the son, she's an older lady now, but then at that time her husband passed away already, and she carried only one the son, and the son is still here in Milwaukee, and I talked to the lady, and she said, we don't know. It's almost like a miracle at that time, right before jumping into the river, into Mekong River, almost like I felt like somebody pushed me, and then I fell into it, and somehow there was a big turtle. Yeah, unbelievable, almost like a big turtle. And then she hang on with her little boy, hang on to that turtle, keep that afloat all the way to the other side of Thailand. And that's a great story. That's what a story. And I talked to the mom. I talked to that lady who just passed away about 2 weeks ago.
Oh,
so
wow.
yeah, and I record that story, which is that's something. It's an amazing story. And she thought, well, maybe my husband, or could be my older ancestor who trying to help us getting across. Wow, that's an awesome story, which is,
I love that.
Yeah.
Too, I wanted to add to long story. When my parents were still here, they would always tell me how they crossed the river. And my mom said that they used the tire tubes from the bikes.
Right.
Yeah, and that's how my parents got across the river. We just have a lot of generational trauma. But yeah, so my mom was like, I was like, Mom, how did you get over the Mekong River? And she's like, oh, your dad and I, we had to tie like these bike tubes together. And we made like, you know, just it just wrapped around us. And then grandpa got some like two bamboo sticks and they stuck it under the armpit and they like floated across.
Right.
And I'm just like,
Uh,
wow.
And very fast current too.
Yeah,
Very
it's
fast
so
current. So
dangerous.
it's not that you just cross them straight across.
A lot of
for
waves.
2 or 3 miles. You have to just jump into, and then with the current, you may fall way on the other side, maybe about 2 or 3 miles away. Yeah. So, you know, it's difficult.
Yeah.
And so one thing also is it's really sad the sad story also is because when the parents crossed the jungle with knowing that communist soldiers camp is just about a block or two away, and now let's say about 200 or 150, 200 people crossing, going together as a caravan there, and then one little kid is crying. And then now people are saying that, wow, why your kid is crying? Then the communist soldiers will know that we are here, so they will kill us. So then a lot of parents had to use opium or some sort of herbal that drug the children so that they they almost lost conscious, so they don't cry, so that to save the group of the people who cross. And that's a real story. I have seen, I have known individual, now they grow up already to be 30 in the 30, 40 already, but yet they survive through the drug situation like that, and many become retarded. Many become retarded, or maybe affect their health and so forth. So that's very really sad that to see things like that happen. Now that is the hardship coming across to refugee camp. Now, when they cross to refugee camp, cross to the other side of in Thailand, they face another hurdle. There are gangs out there trying to smuggle them, trying to steal money from them, trying to whatever they have, try to have any violence with the Hmong family, or trying to ask for money or try to kill them if they don't have money. Then they have to get killed or things like that before they were led or taken to refugee camp in Thailand. So that's very sad situation there too. The Hmong have been through a lot, even after crossing the Mekong River already to the Thai border, and now going through with the once they reach the Thai border, going to the refugee camp, they face another problem there too in the refugee camp, because the life over there, life in the refugee camp is difficult. It's very overly populated, very crowded, and so anything can happen. There are a lot of there are people who are bad that are all come together there too, live together in the refugee camp as well. So the Hmong or refugees in general are facing a lot of violence or things like that inside the camp too, because there are a number of individuals who are not who are bad too in there. So that's one as far as the how the Hmong get across to from Laos to refugee camp in Thailand. Now let me move a little bit to the next one, which is the war survivors stories. Okay, and I put in there the untold story during the war, because untold is just like Panku said before too. We have a lot of well, number one is that polygamy it's permitted in Laos, right? And so, and also, like I think we mentioned that a little bit before already too, that you can go and steal for men, we can go and steal a wife.
Kidnap.
Right, kidnap. So that alone, it's already violence.
It is.
Yeah, it's already violence. You know, it's not, maybe many times they have the young man and the young woman have never known each other before, but oh, I like that girl, let's go kidnap. That's it. Let's go kidnap. And then, but the reason is that, well, the culture allowed like that too. So that's why being practiced like that. But and so I do see with my own eyes that, sure, even like that, even not knowing anybody, like knowing each other, like not knowing each other like that, but the result is that, yeah, many success too. Many become good husband and wife. After that, successful life and so forth. But sure, many couple end up divorced, end up having, you know, affair. A lot of, you know, bad things happen too, because they never date each other enough to know each other enough. So many bad things happen too. And a story, a real stories that not kidnapped, but not knowing each other. My own sister.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I went to France, and then my own sister just want to come to me. That's it. So not knowing her husband at all, just put a stamp on her and send it to France.
Oh.
So, but they
That's a success story.
yeah. So they have a good life. They live, you know, they have a lot of 4 or 5 kids and then grandkids. So this is a success story for a couple who never know each other, not stealing, but get together as husband and wife and successfully live. So.
And also too, like back in the day, I would say like the 80s, the 90s, they had like arranged marriages, right?
Yes, there instant, you know, things like that happen too. Yes. Yeah. And so, yeah, it's a lot of things happen, but just keep secret. Because just like Panko mentioned before too, the community just kept secret because of they don't want to lose face and all of that. That's part of the fact that, you know, whatever happened, you just keep as a secret, even though because there's no program, no sexual assault program, there's no such help program to help, no help available. So they almost like they hide everything in the closet. That's it. So now that we have in this country where we have like at HAFA, like at other organization too, we have programs or in the community in general, that we have sexual assault program, survivor, you know, we have programs that advocate, to help all of that. So many times there are individuals who are just get out of the closet just to tell their story, and then, but again, still kept as much secret as possible because they don't want to lose face. They don't want to now after 30 years, after 40 years, they just say, oh, what happened back then happened. And so but yet that the story, the pain stay with them for the rest of their life. And so it's just about time that some came out and then tell the story. So now that's why I just put like on my slide here, I just say lady 001. Sure, there's people who are the lady who are, I heard the story, the lady who were taken by communist soldiers to camp, to being assaulted, all of that. But yet they come back to the family. The husband cannot do anything at all. All of that. So sure, there are incidents like that happen to Hmong lady, and not as a male sexual assault or advocate here, survivor advocate here at Hafa. The man do not experience that type of let's say sexual assault, right? So but we do have the fact that it's with the legal system right now, a lot of Hmong men were separated, were divorced, and that they face a lot of hardship. And so my role is to support, to make sure that they uh, again they stay calm and continue to be productive citizen. So that's the support that we provide for men in at Hapa. And a lady I put here as a lady 002 sexual assault by partner. So by intimate partner. That's coming back to the fact that sure, yeah, there are a lot of incidents where the man just go and then this, what we call it still, but it's just to kidnap their wife. And so that idea alone is already a lot of considering violence or sexual assault, or a lot happened in the already. So, but they happen, but not anymore, for sure, not anymore. But that happened before, and that stay with the incidents, the hardship to stay in the partners, the lady for the rest of the life. And now the lady number 3, what I had there is sexual assault by a stranger would be, yeah, for sure. Like, for example, they're coming to refugee camp, on the way, they're being, they experience some violence, either through some form of violence to them, during the journey, by either by some stranger, by some gang, by something like that, before they can get into refugee camp, and all of that. So I do know that there are instances like that happen, and back then. So again, those stays with the victims, and then we are here as advocate who are trying to support, to make sure that that we support, that they tell us, and whatever we can do to support that. Oh, okay. So okay. Now, what the next slide here would be that I just like to share a little bit my own story, to see, just so you know how, I mean, a typical Hmong man like me, were the couple of the questions that we sort of put together, that I would just share with you, is that where I was born. Sure, I was born in Laos during the wartime, and going to school back then, just about finishing my 11th grade in 1975. So 19 at that time already. And then, so that's why I had a chance to learn English at school, French at school. So I was fluent French, English back then already. Then as a refugee to refugee camp, I went to France for about 3 years before coming here in Milwaukee, in Wisconsin, in 1979. So back then we hardly have any, individual who can speak English, who can speak the language to help others. So then I was really busy back then, from even 1979 on, to continue to be interpreter everywhere to help the families from then already too. So I put together from then I thought I know that there's a need for. So I put together a Hmong dictionary, English Hmong English dictionary. At first, I put some French, tri-language, but I dropped the French out. But at least that helps a lot. There's a lot of good comment that a lot of people use that to help during that time. So that's good. And my family again, I sponsored my family to friends first, to all my family, with my mom, my dad, all my siblings go to friends, and then they lived with me over there for 1 year, even though I have been there 2 years prior to that. So I lived there for 3 years. So I took my family from there to Milwaukee, to Wisconsin, and I live in Wisconsin ever since. In here, I went to school in MSOE. I graduated in there as the electrical engineer. I worked with Honeywell, Minneapolis, St. Paul since for about 6-7 years, and came back down to Milwaukee, owned a couple of businesses, and then here I am working with the community. So what impact have I made serving the victim or survivor? Yeah, I think hopefully that I can help support the fact that a lot of Hmong men have been through the hardship, being divorced, being separated from the family for whatever reason, without kids. The kids maybe stay with the wife, and that the man has to pay child support, all of the hardship, and so they went through a lot of I mean, almost to a point where they don't know what to do. They don't know what to do. They're just coming here. They're glad to come to an organization such as ours here at HAFA, just to see what we can do to help. We'll see what we can do to put together to make sure that they can continue to survive day by day. So hopefully that what we're doing here can help them that way. So we have other program also, not just the sexual assault advocate here, but there were some other mental health, which is sort of some connection with the survivor, the survival here too. And so I have worked with one client that she had been through a lot in the family situation too. So and then along with mental health, and so with the program we have been able to support him to make sure that he got the place to stay, make sure he got food to eat. We got enough support, all of that. So hopefully that helps. That's to me, I feel like that's a success story that we here program at HAPA, we can help.
The individual. I think I know who you're talking about. So Long's talking about a story where he helped a client, and this person was just coming out of an abusive relationship. He needed help paying for rent. So with the VOCA emergency funds, we were able to cover that for him. We have a food pantry here, so we were able to give him food. And so, just getting him back up on his 2 feet, like it's, that's kind of like the work that we enjoy doing. That's, very impactful. So I think that's great. It's a personal success story. What changes would you like to see for victims and survivors? Just like more service or more language?
I'm pretty sure that the victims and survivors would feel very happy to have a program like that available at the Hmong organization like HAPA. Because we don't have too many organizations in Milwaukee. So just the HAFA and then the other HAWA, right? So just the other 2 organizations. That's it. That serve the whole community, Asian community, pretty much. So we serve not just the Hmong, but pretty much Asian community here too. So and community at large as well. So I'm pretty sure that the victim and survivors are very happy to see that services like this are happening,
Provided.
are
Mhm.
available here. Continue to, and we are glad to as a staff, we are glad to be able to get some support from local government to help us to
Mhm.
sustain program like this for
Mhm.
the community, which is very, that I'm sure they're very grateful about that.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
You kind of answered that last
Yeah.
one too with the
Yeah,
benefits and
right.
resources. Just that whether us and the other one, the Hmong American Women Association, are the two organizations that really serve the Southeast Asian community. And so at the end of this presentation, I have a slide that has other multiple organizations resources that are available to you guys. So we just want to wrap it up quickly with the kind of like the strategies or the empowerment of the Southeast Asian community. Our goal here really is to do prevention, prevention of more cases, and that we want the abuser to know that there is consequences for their actions. And whether that be time, put away or, just so I was talking to another colleague of mine that, maybe we should offer classes or another organization should offer classes to the abuser, so that they can learn not to do this anymore, right? Some type of therapy work or something as a suggestion. But ultimately, survivors just wanted their voices to be heard, see changes in the community, more education on sexual violence, a more supportive community, accessible training, more family education, and just uplifting. I think that's kind of the feedback that we've heard from our clients, and how we can better empower Southeast Asian clients. With Nona, we had her put in what we can do to better assist the Karen community. And she said, just believing the survivor, assuring survivors that the assault was not their fault, just giving them validation, acknowledging how they're feeling, and that it's valid, encouraging good self-care. Again, self-care is different for different types of Southeast Asian ethnicities. So what we do in the Hmong culture might be different in the Lao culture or the Karen culture. So just being mindful of that, and just going through those self-care. Maybe sometime it's just taking a walk in nature, because a lot of our families are from the jungle. And so sometimes that can be soothing, being with Mother Nature, but maybe not for all. Some could be traumatizing. So you just want to kind of see what works for that community, and just take that approach. And then lastly, just kind of, bringing more awareness of sexual assault to families and the community. She was saying just more education, and that it's okay to, voice out your opinion, and that you have advocates like us here to help support you and your story. And she just wants to encourage more Karen community to come to support groups, and participate in activities, and just, have more awareness of sexual assault. Also, what has been helping when serving the community, the Karen community, when it comes to sexual assault advocacy awareness. We do a lot of community outreach. So whether it's to colleges or schools, any other nonprofit organizations, we hang up flyers and business cards at Asian markets. We have our food pantry here that we serve a lot of Karen families. So just having our flyers, putting them in the boxes, any educational infographics we can put in there. We've hosted a community closet. We get a lot of donations, and we save the donations and we keep them for victims and survivors, or just, anyone really who needs the clothes, the socks, things like that. We do diaper giveaways. We noticed that, with the newer refugees, like the Karen community, the Burmese, the Afghanistan, they have a lot of small babies, a lot of small children. And sometimes, the mothers, they don't work, because of language barriers. And so what they need are diapers and formulas because it's very expensive. And so we've had, a few diaper drives. We've had our back to school event that we host every August. It's our back to school and health resource fair for the community. That's been really successful. It really helps the cost of school supplies, the expenses for these Southeast Asian families. And we're just happy that we can help provide that for them and that they don't have to go and purchase the extra school supplies. We do have the annual Women Health Fair. And that's where we have different women in different languages come and help translate the services to the clients. And so we found out that that's really helpful by having translators, interpreters when it comes to health, whether it's mental health, physical health. It's really important because we notice a lot of people, they're not going to go to the doctor if they don't understand the language. And I think a lot of that too is built on trust. And so, but with having a translator, an interpreter there who does speak the language, they're a little bit more understanding. They're more willing to go get those regular checkups and any kind of medical attention that they need. Job fair, we've noticed, too, with Southeast Asian communities or even the newer refugees, job placement is very important because of the language barrier. It is, challenging. And so we have that program here where we can help the refugees or, immigrants or, anyone really who needs a job. We work with different companies, different organizations, to really help our community to be working, to be employed, right? Like we think that's important to be productive.
I'd just like to add
Sure.
a little bit to that. Yeah, the food pantry is really active, really active. We serve a lot. That we do appreciate all the help from Hunger Task Force, from other food pantry, like Just One More Ministry, other pantry too that we serve. I believe that during the pandemic, I think we served 35,000
We did.
individuals. So that's a lot. And even right now, close to about between 150 to 200 family per day on Tuesday and Friday. So considering that 4 or 5 individual per family, we're serving 500-600 individual per day. So that's a lot. We do appreciate all the help from our sponsors, our donors, like Hmong Task Force and other alike.
Feeding America.
Yeah, Feeding America and so forth. And we are glad to really got the partner with, or I mean, got donation, got collaborated with an organization in toward the scene too, giving us a lot of baby diapers, health, items for baby items,
Hygiene products.
hygiene product, hygiene giveaway. And I think last time we gave about over 220 220 families, and awesome. So back to school last year we gave about 750 came.
Yes, 750 came. We gave away 500 backpacks.
Right.
We got a lot of donations from Giving to the Nations and just a lot of sponsors. And we
do appreciate
continue to
all of that
network.
help there.
Yes.
Yep. So we're very proud to be able to serve that.
We are. Just our last 2-page here is our reference here, which is available to you guys. And then these are just some other Southeast Asian resources in Wisconsin that you guys can look into. And here I have attached the link on here as well, so you guys are more than welcome to reach out to them if they're in your area. We have some from Oshkosh, Wausau, Madison, Fox Valley, some organization here that helps with Southeast Asian. Otherwise than that, anyone have any questions?
There is a question in the chat. The question is, it says, the Hmong community has been in the U.S. for roughly 50 years now as of next year. how have HAFA seen sexual violence evolve or not evolve over time? And then there's a part 2 to the question. What themes do you all see in sexual violence between men and boys versus women and girls in the Hmong community?
Okay, so it's this question here. How have Hapa seen sexual violence evolved or not evolve over time? I think it's definitely involved, for sure. Well, I want to say I think more Hmong families are more open to talking about it and to getting help versus before. So I would say it's maybe like in the 90s and the 80s, it was maybe more like physical and maybe not a lot of people spoke out about it. But currently now in the 2000s and the 2020s, more victims are coming forward and they're more comfortable talking about it. However, I do see that they're not very public about it though. That is still one of our biggest challenge is having survivors being public, because we would ask for interviews or just like, hey, can we share your story? And a lot of them are still very I don't want to say like embarrassed, but they're just a little more shy about it. But they do come and they do speak with the advocates here, just not very public. Did you want to add anything to that, Lon, on the
I'd
involvement?
just like to add that before, I think due to the language barrier, the community or Hmong, either man or woman, the Hmong women, they don't want to speak up because of the language. They don't know they don't know how to express, how to get help if they don't speak. Now the Hmong men were will probably back then would probably say, yeah, because of the we don't speak, so we're trying to.
They don't speak the language,
yeah,
so they don't.
yeah.
Yeah, they don't tell the story.
They don't tell the story. But now, because more and more in the community knows about the legal system, how if something bad happened, with the consequences that they will face, how serious it is to face the consequence like that. So now, sure, things do. I think slow down because of the more knowledge of the legal system and so forth, and also the language. More and more in the family are knowing what to to get the message across to the adult men and women that things like that are bad to do.
Right. Yeah, just the education I think has been better.
Right.
What themes do you see in sexual violence between men and boys versus women and girls? I would say the men and boys, there may be more like stories from like the war that I can think of, that kind of has that they're suffering trauma with the war and coming here. So I think the men and boys that have experienced sexual violence is different in that way versus the women and the girls. I feel like with Hmong women and Hmong girls, their sexual violence comes from like the bride kidnapping or just the abusive husband, and like more intimate partner. Whereas the men and boys, that sexual violence could have came from the soldiers, the communists, gangs, things like that. Those are kind of the themes that we see. It is still a challenge for Hmong men and boys to come forward and tell their stories. However, we are here to support them, in any way that we can. But those are kind of the themes that we've noticed. And then curious on what support you provide for men and boys. Yeah, so alongside the male sexual assault, so along with support group, what other kind of like services can you
I think
assist
I'd
with
like to
men?
see more of the Hmong men and boys coming out.
Okay.
Coming out to participate in programs and
Sure.
to share the stories, to let us know to see what we can do to help.
Sure.
So, but not coming out to tell us, it's hard to see who's need what.
Right.
So I sure like to encourage now everybody to, I mean, if anybody know anybody out there that need
Yes.
help, please come forward.
Yeah, we encourage them. I think, support group is important. Building like a brother's circle, just something very intimate, very confidential, I think is important. If they need help with like therapy or anything like that, we have a lot of referrals that we work with, and so we would be able to assist them that way. Thank you for your question.
Does anybody else have any more questions, any more comments before we wrap up? Okay. This was great. I had to like there are no words. I'm glad that we got to listen to you all's level of expertise, right?
Mhm.
Like I was mind blown at how informative this was. I learned some things that I clearly have not learned in school that I should have learned in school. It was just kudos to you all. This was great. Angie, do you have anything?
No, same with nesting. There were parts of this presentation in the history that I didn't know, and I think it's easy. Again, I put in the chat. I think it's easy for us to forget how recent this history is, and it feels weird to call it history, right? Because it literally happened within this generation. And so that's why understanding the history. So when we're working with people, they understand that this isn't like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago. Like the impact is still really recent.
It is, yeah.
It's easy to forget. So thank you so much. This was incredibly wonderful. I'm very thankful that we were able to connect and have you here with us today.
I think one last word too, that we'd like to see you all in person to visit us in Milwaukee at the organization too. So whenever you have a chance.
Stop by.
We will be there.
Stop by to see us.
We're about to make it a thing. I'm excited. I'm excited to be around y'all. Just like a group of great people. Like I can't wait.
Well, thank you, Angie.
Yeah,
thank you, Nestic. We appreciate the
Mhm.
opportunity.
Thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, everyone.
Yeah.
Just the rest of SAAM. We're getting down to the end here. And thank you again. I appreciate you all so much.
Thank you.
Yep. Y'all have a good day.
Bye.
Thank you.